Welcome once again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Bloxel, with my co-host, Mr. Matthew Balzer. Today, the big headlines, obviously, is no Fortnite for the Canucks when they're on the road. And the reason I bring that up is only because it's made headlines around the world and is actually leading U.S. sports on ESPN. And I know some of the players around the league are commenting on it. Matt, why don't you bring us up to date with what you've heard? It's kind of funny how this has taken off.
Yeah, so yesterday I brought up Patrick Laine and his love for the video game, especially NHL 19, and of course he was asked today about it, and the main quote here is they need something to blame for last year. And he went on to add that if the Jets players agreed that if they start playing as bad as Vancouver is, then they'll stop bringing their PlayStations on the road. So,
wow, some harsh words, that's for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with Laine. I still don't see the big deal about bringing your video games. I think I saw a thing that the Vegas Golden Knights and Washington Capitals actually bring Mario Kart on the road, and they have big team stuff. So I think Niskanen said when in the Stanley Cup final, they spent like 4 hours just playing like Mario Kart, just trying to get through the time. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's not a big deal. It's like it. They could have. I think the Canucks could have clarified, or where like Mike or Travis Green said like he's not banning it himself from the players. It's the actual whole.
I think it's the captain group is the one that decided it. So there was a big suspension in the NHL today. I thought Mr. Wilson was going to get 6, maybe. You thought maybe as severe as 10. What came down?
Yeah, so Tom Wilson got suspended for 20 games, which is actually nice for all the crap that the player safety department gets about giving all these little suspensions, especially to repeat offenders. It was nice to see a huge suspension. 20 games, I was not expecting that whatsoever. But with that suspension, he'll lose over $1.2 million in salary this year. So I think this year he got paid $5 million as a signing bonus on July 1st, but his salary for this year was supposed to be $1.1 million. So he won't see any of that over the course of the season. But yeah, harsh laydown by the NHL.
Well, I think it's good for them because of his previous experience and the fact that he got away with potentially a suspendable offense in the playoffs. I think they just had enough, and they said, "Hey, you know what? These aren't as important of games yet. Let's throw the book at him. Hopefully, he smartens up. Hopefully, he stops doing these cheap hits that he does, and hopefully, Mr. Wilson gets the message. I mean, obviously, his pocketbook will." So there was a minor trade today. Just before the NHL season started, and if you're watching this right now, it's 1-1 Montreal and Toronto. Montreal hanging in there with the big Stanley Cup favorite Toronto Maple Leafs, as I've been hearing all day on TSN. But why don't you fill us in on the trade as well as some of the other moves around the league?
Yeah, so the Montreal Canadiens and the Minnesota Wild made a minor deal. Minnesota sending Gustav Olofsson, one of their better defensive prospects, to Montreal for Will Bitton, who was a third-round pick in 2016. Played in the Memorial Cup and was a big part of the Hamilton Bulldogs playoff run last year. And this will be his first year turning pro. So a decent prospect going either way. Both will be in the American Hockey League to start the year. A couple of injuries to report. Robbie Fabry, who left in a preseason game earlier this year. It's only a groin injury, so it looks like it'll only be out at least a week to start, but at least he didn't tear his ACL again, thank God. And Ottawa updated Brady Tkachuk that it's a groin injury, so he'll be missing the season opener, along with Michael Neuwirth will miss at least the first 2 games of the season. Also, a couple updates. The Buffalo Sabres named Jack Eichel their team captain for the year, which still makes me wonder why the Canucks just couldn't make Bo Horvat the captain with all these young guys continuing to get the Cs. Along with Ottawa, they'll go with Matt Duchene and Mark Stone as permanent assistant captains, with Mark Borowicki and Zach Smith alternating the A's at home and away. So Zach Smith goes from waiver wire to an assistant captain for this year.
I believe Detroit also announced a couple of guys that are alternating A's this year. Dylan Larkin, and I think it's Athanasiou, right?
Yes.
And so that brings us up to our next segue. I mean, Yahoo! The NHL season's finally here. It started. We've already got some goals. I mean, how exciting is this? You have any more news on tonight's games? I know you have tonight's lineups for the Calgary Flames, Vancouver Canucks game. Why don't you fill us in on that and some of the other news and notes that you have there?
Yeah, so just from a little bit of the Habs and Leafs games, I've seen the Habs actually have come out pretty fast and hard against the Leafs, scoring that first goal. But that dreaded power play that the Leafs were looking at, Austin Matthews with just a beautiful goal to tie things up so far. But here in Vancouver, I think it's the healthy scratches that are the big surprise. Tim Schaller and Ben Hutton will be healthy scratches. And if you throw in Sam Gagner down in the minors, that's $7.85 million that were not good enough to make the Canucks starting lineup, which is crazy. But the Canucks lineup tonight will be the top line is Sven Baertschi, Bo Horvat, and Brock Besser. Second line will be Nikolai Goldobin, Elias Pettersson, and Louis Eriksson. Third line will be Tyler Mott, Brandon Sutter, and Jake Virtanen. Virtanen, who left yesterday with back spasms at the morning skate, will play tonight. And the fourth line will be Brendan Leipsic, Jay Beagle, and Marcus Granlund. The defensive pairs tonight will be Alex Edler and Chris Tanev, Michael Del Zotto, Troy Stetcher, and Derek Pouliot, and with Erica Branson, with Jacob Markstrom starting in net. I'm a little surprised that Stetcher isn't playing with Edler and Tanev vice versa with Del Zotto. Well, I would have had him with Hutton, but that didn't work out. So we'll see how things go tonight. But with the Flames lineup tonight, they got a loaded forwards lines tonight. We got Johnny Gaudreau with Sean Monahan and Elias Lindholm. Second line, Matthew Tkachuk with Michael Backlund and Michael Frolik. The third line will be rookie Dylan Dubé with Derek Ryan and James Neal. The fourth line of Sam Bennett, Mark Jankowski, and Austin Zarnik. And the defense will be Mark Giordano with TJ Brody, Noah Hannafin with Travis Hamonic, and rookie Juuso Valimaki with Michael Stone, with Mike Smith starting the net. So it's a good depth there for Calgary, especially when James Neal is on your third line making $5 million. I thought he would have gotten the first look on that top line with Gaudreau and Monahan, but Lindholm gets that first look. But we'll see. The Canucks are at home tonight, so hopefully they can feed off that crowd and hopefully at least score a couple goals before they probably end up losing tonight. But the season all in for Jack Hughes this year here in Van. The season started and everything's starting off with a bang, especially that Leafs Habs game's been pretty good so far.
Absolutely. That game, by the way, an update, still 1-1 near the end of the first. So final words before we wrap up today's show.
Yeah, so I'm just hoping we get a good game tonight. As Alex Ovechkin's brought out the cup onto the ice, and they've been doing their big presentation for their fans so far. A great montage with "We Are the Champions" going on, and then I think they ended the big presentation with the song going with the team singing it in the dressing room. It's a brand new season. There's a lot of favorites to win the cup this year, but we'll see how things go, and then at least tomorrow we'll finally be able to talk about some full NHL regular season games.
I'm just really surprised that somebody was able to get the cup out of Alex Ovechkin's hands and that he has to give it up. I mean, he's probably got the real one stowed away in his basement somewhere. But anyways, remember to like and subscribe and leave your comments below right here. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook. We love doing this for you, and we will be back again tomorrow with another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. So for Aaron Bloxel and Matt Bulzer, everyone have a fantastic day and evening.